Alke, and Dotson-Rod. Recommends the House recede from the House amendments as printed on Senate Journal pages 501. Adopt amendments as follows and place Senate Bill 2036 on the seventh order. Mr. Speaker.
Representative Belter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly. It was about 2 weeks ago, approximately this time of night, and Judy and I were driving back from Rochester, and I turned the radio on to some 60s music, and the song that was being played was a song by the Animals that was done in 1961, and it was, "We've got to get out of this place." And Judy just kind of mumbled, "Legislative theme song." Anyway, Senate Bill 2036. 2036, what it really does, the first part of the bill is really 1290, which we passed earlier, and so that's what the first sections cover, is a roll-up of 1290, which was a bill that we kind of call the Sunshine Bill, which requires the notification on property tax increases and gives all those notifications to property owners that are going to have more than $3,000 or a 10% increase in their tax valuations. And then if you go on to Section 3, there's some language there dealing with the statements from the county treasurer that were made. And then also it has the language about the legislative tax relief that will be required on all, 3 years of tax information that will be required on all property tax statements, and it'll show, of course, 3 years of legislative tax relief. The major item in this bill actually is in Section 4, and that is a 12%, additional 12% reduction in be 12% property tax payment, which amounts to $200 million. And then, of course, we go through that, and then the next changes, I guess, are in 6, just dealing with the delinquency of taxes. And Section 8, of course, is the appropriations for the $200 million. Section 9 is a legislative management study dealing with trying to get information from the county so that we have a uniform reporting process. Then Section 10 Section 10 is a management study dealing with the control of property tax levies and the impact of that. And then Section 11 is a sunset of Sections 4, 5, and 6. So that would be a sunset of the $200 million payment that is made in this bill. So what we have here is if we look at what we did in 13-19, we have $654 million in 13-19, and an additional $200 million in 2036. So that is $854 million of property tax payments that the state of North Dakota will be making. And that pretty much covers the amendments.
Is there any discussion on the conference committee report? Representative Mock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the bill carry? Yield to a question?
Representative Belter,
I will,
yield
Mr.
to a
Speaker.
question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Belter. And the last part that you had just mentioned was an explanation of what I presume would have been the fiscal note The bill, as it shows up in laws, does not have an updated fiscal note. I see that in Section 8, there is an appropriation of $200 million. Can you again explain what the fiscal note would reflect if 2036 in its current form, if the conference committee report is adopted, how much that will how much we will be appropriating in state dollars for property tax reductions and any other expenditures associated with this bill?
The fiscal note on 2036 will be $200 million.
Mr. Speaker, if I...
You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my understanding is that that is a 12% reduction of property taxes outside of any other property tax mill levy buy-downs that this assembly is expected to pass.
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is on the motion of Representative Belter to adopt the conference committee report. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The report is adopted. The House will be on the 14th order of business, and the House has before it Senate Bill 2036, which has been read. Mr. Chief Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, reintroduce Senate Bill 2036 with conference committee amendments introduced by legislative management at the request of the Taxation Committee. Reintroduce Senate Bill 2036 is a bill for an act to create and enact Section 57-20-07.2 of the North Dakota Century Code relating to taxing district budgets and state-paid property tax relief credits, to amend and reenact Sections 57-12-09, 57-15-02.1, 57-20-7.1, and 57-20-9, and 57-20-21.1 of the North Dakota Century Code relating to notices of property tax assessment increases, hearings on proposed property tax increases, contents of property tax statements, discounts for early payment of property taxes, application of relief for current taxes, to provide an appropriation, to provide for a legislative management study, to provide an effective date, and to provide an expiration date. Mr. Speaker.
Representative Belter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would hope that you would vote green on 2036. I think that there's some very good language in this bill that was taken from House Bill 1290 that should be of great value to our taxpayers when they see their tax statement, and it should hopefully shed some light and make the taxpayer more aware of the responsibilities that we as taxpayers have as far as monitoring what our local municipalities and school districts and parks are doing, and how the money is being spent, which is a reflection on what our property tax is. And we also have here $200 million additional property tax paid by the state, and adding the 654 from 1319, you're looking at approximately $854 million of property tax being paid by the state of North Dakota, and that certainly is a historic figure. And I think it points out the commitment that the legislature has made to the people of North Dakota to pass much of the good fortune of this state back to the people of North Dakota, and I request a green vote on the bill.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the House has before it for final consideration Senate Bill 2036. The clerk will open the key and you may record your vote. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Key will be closed and the clerk will take the record. The final vote shows 91 yea, 0 nay, 3 absent, not voting. Senate Bill 2036 is declared passed. The House will be on the 17th order of announcements. Mr. Chief Clerk.